Yo, what's going on, everybody? What's going on, Silva? Luca is on his way.
GM, Big Ross. Excited to sit down with you and Luca today and see what we're going to dig into.
Dude, likewise. It'll be interesting to hear what's going on. Abstract Chain Live. Was it last week? This week?
Last Monday. Yeah, last Monday.
Last Monday. Got a big pudgy burn today. Uh, Excited to see what Luca's been up to. Yo, what's up, Luca?
Sorry about that. I was in a generational cook mode,
Dude, what are you
and
generationally cooking on today?
man, you guys are going to see this one soon. When you see this generational cook, I think people are going to freak out on this one. I think I struck gold on an idea. So I've just been working with actually abstract relevant. So I've just been working with the abstract team for the last couple of hours, just scoping. But it's going to be special. I think people are going to be like, damn. It's one of those. I think it's one of those ideas, in my opinion. We'll see. Um, but I think it's one of those game changer ideas. So apologize for being a couple minutes late.
Dude, no worries. Holy shit. You're coming in with some, like, I could tell just by the tone in your voice, you're excited. So, yeah, no apologies, bro. Cook it up. That's awesome.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good.
It was like the same feeling you had when you decided to take Pudgy's abstract. Is it bigger than those? Or you think just like same caliber? What are we talking here?
It's one of those kind of like closing the loop aha moments in terms of like I can't elaborate because I don't want to give it away. I just want people to see it, and I'm in zero expectation mode. I'm just stoked. So you can kind of hear it in my tone. It's really hard for me to fake. uh, so I'm just stoked. So I'm just like, okay, like I'm in surprise and delight mode. Just ship. I'm just shipping everything. Not even thinking about it. We were doing this thing for a while where it's unorthodox to how we've built over the last couple of years, just overthinking and running around in a loop. And I'm like, dude, full ship mode on Pudgy, full ship mode on Abstract. And I'm a competitor to a fault. So like, I'm not going to pretend that I don't see people saying shit. And I'm like in full make them rue the day. And I think that day is going to be sooner rather than later. So I'm just in full go time and I'm locked in. So it's been a while since I've gotten in a notion and scoped anything out, right? Which is a bad thing. So like I got to take accountability for that because I think that's probably one of my best skill sets. So just going in there and having one of those ideas where you're like, damn, that makes everyone freaking cope. You're like, dude, you just spent the whole day scoping it. Everyone's kind of aligned. One of those few ideas where the team is like, oh, this is kind of it. Usually somebody always has a contrarian take. So, you're kind of onto something when everyone's aligned. And so some of these guys are going to stop everything they're doing and just work on it and get it out ASAP. But I think it's going to be one of those killer features.
Dude, let's go. Talk about an intro. Hell yeah, man. Well, soak it in. We're stoked to have you here, and I feel like you just gave us the foundation for a great interview. I mean, I had all these questions prepared, but I mean, it seems like you guys just agreed this is it and just started shipping. How do you think your experience with Pudgies and then Abstract and just having that experience behind your belt, how does that allow you to just move forward? And does that change your perspective of a founder where there's less time required to just hit the next one?
It's good for moments like these because we've been faded. We like, it's like, I actually feel like this moment now is very akin to the Walmart moment, right? Specifically around Abstract. Oh, it doesn't fit to my degen, the whales, and I'm like, yeah, just like with Walmart, they're selling plushies and they're selling toys. How stupid is that? Like, look at you now, buddy. You know what I mean? Like anybody who, you, in hindsight, Walmart was the moment. You'd be really stoked if you participated and you were a part of that ecosystem around there. And I think this is one of those similar moments. So I'm just like, dude, this is where I'm strongest. Like moments like these. And I think for us, the history of Pudgy puts you in a moment, right? Because I've been in a boat where we gone up, we gone down, people faded, people said their little snarky remarks. So like it doesn't get to me. It just fuels me because I'm like, dude, I know all the people who said that stupid shit about Walmart are looking at themselves and being like, damn, that was dumb. Right. And so I'm like, all right, dude, like I know the cadence in which we're building this thing is the right way. Is it ahead of its time? Maybe. Does it have some issues? Sure. Right. But like, I know that this is where this stuff is going. And then when I have moments like today and I'm cooking, I'm like, yes, I knew it. Right. Cause you can always question yourself. Like one of the things that like, I read the feedback and I don't just ignore it and brush it off. Like, oh, he's stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like never. Right. Like I always listen. I'm like, okay, like, where is he right? Where is he wrong? I think for like a day or two there, I was like, do you just build this the traditional way? And like, do you just backtrack on like where I think this stuff is going? And it's like, no, bro, if everyone got it, then I'd be doing something like the best things people don't understand immediately. And granted, like, I'm also not saying that there's not like things that need to be fixed and reworked and, new flows and things like that. But I just know when I think of things like I just thought of earlier today and I'm scoping for a couple hours in the Notion with the boys, I'm like, okay, dude, like this is the right way. This is where this stuff is going. So, this is what I needed for my own personal for my own personal goals. Like greatness is not achieved like lollygagging and like rolling through things. Like greatness is not easy, right? Like greatness is hard if you want to be that, right? And like you got to have bumps in the road and you've got to face adversity and you got to look at it in the eye and just be like, dude, we're going to go, So, I think to answer your question, it's like so much of the last couple of years puts you in moments where you're like, okay, you feel like your back is a little against the wall. It puts you in a position where it's like, dude, we've been here before so many times. Right. And so I'm not like worried. I don't curl up into a ball. I don't get anxious. I'm not sad or upset or losing sleep. I'm more like, okay, it's go time. Right. Like all bad habits gone. Like no time for that. Right. Just put your head down, open up the laptop and get to work until you can't work any longer and then go to sleep and then wake up and do the same thing. And you rinse and repeat until you're back where you want to be. And that's what I think this group needed. Yeah. So that's the answer to your question.
Dude,
Man.
go ahead, Silva. All you.
Appreciate it, Ross. Luca, I mean, that is awesome. I love to hear that. Particularly, the energy, right? I think energy and motivation, that sort of thing, is a huge component for building, both in this space and really in any space, right? You have to be passionate about it. You have to have kind of that mentality of just like you kind of, went through. You got to love what you're doing. You got to believe in it. Do it as much as you can. Go to sleep and then wake up and do it the next day, right? And a lot of the feelings you're describing right now, it kind of reminds me of the sentiment around Pudgies around the time when you bought them several years ago, right? They were kind of in the mud, all the FUD and doubt, surrounding the project because of, the former team behind it and everything there. And you came in with your past success and, you said, regardless of what's happened up to this point, we're going to make this a success and we're going to do everything possible to be the face of NFTs and to be the face of, just what an NFT can and should be to the public eye, right? And I think everything you've done has been a testament to that, from Walmart to, that obviously that is, such a huge moment, like you were referencing, to even now having your own chain, your own blockchain with Abstract going live last week. So I just wanted to say I love that energy you're bringing here, and in sort of that reviewing kind of mindset with Abstract being out, the first week and a half now. I just wanted to ask, you know, how have you seen that it's gone, right? Obviously, it's very early times. There's tons of metrics you could get into to kind of analyze that, but has there been anything that you've seen so far out of the Abstract mainnet launch that you really loved, not loved, you kind of been indifferent on, just anything that stood out to you so far about Abstract that has been, notable to you and your team?
Could have been better, could have been worse. And whatever boat we're in, is the boat we're in, and all you got to do is upgrade the boat until you're in a cruise ship. Like that's I think our thing. There was a thing that was brought. Peter brought up something a couple months ago. He was like, dude, like, and the Pengu and the momentum, and we lost track, and we got lost in the sauce there for a couple weeks because like the plan was just like launch it, get it out, zero expectations, and build on it, iterate on it, right? Like chains are a build. If you wanted to just launch a token and it be a thing, right? Like you could run some grift playbook and just launch the token and just ride the wave and just put yourself into that bucket and don't even main net it and just whatever. And that's just not we did this because we believe we can build a better product and a better experience and get more momentum than anybody else. Like that reigns true. There were some mistakes. There was a lot of feedback. There were some issues. Not going to pretend that there wasn't, right? And these guys have been fixing this stuff, really putting on an engineering masterclass. I mean, tickets are coming in and things are getting pushed same day. So I think it just speaks to the tenacity of the group. And it's like, dude, it can only get better. And I think it will. And then you have moments like you have this morning where it's like, oh, dude, we have a conversation. We're starting to debate back and forth. And then an idea comes and you're like, oh, yes, this is it. Right. Because then you maybe get caught in a loop where it's like, hey, this feedback is good. Maybe we should cater to whales and do all that. Right. But like there's a reason why it was so right. It was so on the right side of the spectrum. Like our goal, our thing at the Igloo has always been like the mission. It's right there on the website, igloo.inc. Like it's always been bringing the next 100 million people, like truly actually doing it. And sometimes you can face the burn for it. Like Walmart was a perfect example, but we always look right. We've been looking outwards since day one. We've never looked inwards. Could you have met somewhere in the middle? Totally. Right. Should you have? Probably. Right. But like ultimately the TAM, the growth, the opportunity, the potential is not looking inward. It's the same mercenary capital sloshing around, being opportunists, taking, right? Like there is a whole world out there that is not familiar with what this stuff enables and what's possible. And we just got to build towards that, dude. And like, take in the right feedback, ignore some of the noise, and just do what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Up, down, to the right, to the left, doesn't matter. We just ship. And ultimately, it all catches up to itself, right? We've been down this rodeo multiple times. I've been through multiple 75%, 80% downturns over at Pudgy on the NFTs. Just look at the chart. You can see it. When we bought it 1 to 4, all the way back to 1. Then we went from, 1 to 7.5 back to 2. We've been doing this, right? So it's just like, dude, just lock in, do what got you here in the first place, right? Which is just shipping relentlessly and telling a story that nobody else, I think, can tell the way that we can, and just cook and iterate and implement. And then you have moments like today, which has me, hopping on this interview with so much energy because I'm like, yes, this is one of those things that I think people are going to be like, they did it again. So, we just keep on keeping on. We keep pushing the thing forward. And look, like history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And it's going to rhyme. It's going to be a double entendre on this rhyme. And so just keep it going.
Dude, let's go. Not like us blasting in the background. Luca's hopping on couches here. He's fired up. I love it, bro. I want to get back to what you said, though, just in terms of innovating and doing something that hasn't been done before. So I know you guys have Igloo, and the whole idea is to onboard people and get, traditional companies, people who are already in crypto, but just like onboard as many people as possible. And I want to talk a little bit about Abstract just because it's top of mind. What was like your vision for Abstract and just the driving force behind this chain? Because it's a unique idea to have a chain focused on content creation. Where do you see that? We obviously see Pudgies have a ton of content associated with them. What was the need to launch its own chain, and how do you hope that, aligns with your ultimate goal of driving people towards crypto and uniting these ecosystems?
Yeah. So how we got here is not necessarily where we're going. How we got here was, L2s were offering us, 8 figures to go and build on their chain and their ecosystem. And then I started to realize, I was like, why would they offer me 8 figures to go and build on their chain and their ecosystem? Because in reality, apps and brands make chains. Chains don't make apps and brands. And these ecosystems have ridiculous valuations with little to no momentum. And putting something like Pudgy Penguins on their chain gives them the story to at least justify that they have some sort of momentum, right? And so that was probably, and then I kind of realized, well, our ecosystem is pretty fragmented. We've got like a different partner for every different, mass market initiative that needs some sort of scaling solution. And so this doesn't feel good. We should just consolidate it. And if chains are being commoditized, the value is going to come from the brand, the community, and ultimately, I think the experience. I just spoke about this with somebody, but I think LLMs and chains are going in the same direction, right? Like, if you ask somebody like, where's the proprietary value in the LLM, the proprietary value is diminishing on a daily basis. The value is accrued in the wrapper, in the brand, right? Like ChatGPT's LLM is not that much better than Claude's LLM, right? To some degree of separation. Eventually, they'll all converge to be the same, right? Like, where does ChatGPT have the moat? It has the moat that it's number one on the App Store. It has the best consumer interface, and the most people are using it, and they got the most tight-knit community, right? Like that is the moat. And so, then when I understood that, I was like, well, makes no sense to go bring the moat to somewhere else. It makes sense to bring the moat to us and to the community, right? And then, build that way. So that's kind of how we got here. Where we ended up going is when we started looking under the hood of everything, we started to see that like the competitive landscape wasn't necessarily there the way that I thought it would. I think it's base and then it's everyone else, right? And so from our perspective, I was like, well, I've said this analogy a couple of times, but I think it's the most relevant, right? Like blockchains to me feel like 4chan today, right? You know how to use it, it works well. If you don't know how to use it, it can be harmful. Blockchains fall into that same category. You know how to use Ethereum, could be pretty helpful. If you don't know how to use Ethereum, it can be pretty harmful. You can click a link and get fished, right? And so if 4chan is a decentralized social network and blockchains today feel like 4chan, how do you make this thing feel like Instagram, right? And so what you kind of see at Abstract is the bones of it, and the features that I think we're going to ship over the coming weeks are really going to surprise people, and I think people are going to love it. But it's like, how do you go to one website and do everything that you need to do on chain within some degree? Meaning, you got to, I call it the barista test. The barista test is a very important test when it comes to consumer adoption. And when you're trying to do a consumer chain, you got to pass the barista test. And so the barista test is simple. You go to your local coffee shop and you go to your barista and you say, I got $1,000 for you. I need you to go and buy this thing on Ethereum, right? And if you do it within the hour, you get $1,000. The chances for that barista to pull that off is probably 1 to 5%, right? Depending on the barista. But a majority of baristas, you go to 100 baristas, 5 of them will be able to pull it off, 95 will not within that time frame, right? On the other side of the spectrum, you go to your barista and you say, go to abs.xyz. You got $1,000. If within the hour you can go and buy this token, I'll give you the $1,000. I promise you that probability goes from 95 from 5 to 100 to 50 to 80 to 100. And the goal is to get that even quicker, right? And so that is the goal. I think today what we've accomplished is the best 0 to 1 onboarding in crypto. I don't care what anyone says. It's the best 0 to 1. And look no further. All the positive anecdotes of Abstract so far, there's really 2 buckets. The current crypto native user that's pissed that their thing can't plug in. It doesn't make sense for what they've got. Totally makes sense. But you go send that to a friend, right? Give them the barista test. See how many get through to the finish line versus doing it on Ethereum. It's bar none, right? And so we got that accomplished. Boom. You have some semblance of entertainment and fun. I think one of our issues at launch was we didn't do a good enough job making sure that enough fun ecosystem applications, which we have a ton, were deployed. So ultimately you got in there and there wasn't much to do. Totally get that, right? That's on us. Can't be the hub of fun. Can't be digital Disneyland with one attraction, right? Like, not a hard problem to solve, though. We've already done the hard part in terms of procuring the builders. We have a robust pipeline. All you got to get them to do is develop, right? You have a streaming mechanism that I think speaks to creators. I'm a huge believer that creators make chains and make products and creators make everything, right? The influencer and influence is the most powerful non-tangible asset. So how do you put them in a position to succeed? Now, granted, if you don't have all the momentum in the world, you won't have thousands of streamers live. But again, momentum is a flip of a dime. And I think we flipped the dime very quickly here. And then everyone piles in and everyone's streaming and everyone's making content specifically around some of the features that I just thought of today. I think it changes everything. So, from our perspective, it's like, look, you can go and watch your, use an example, right? Let's just say, Kai Cenat's not relevant, but I'll use him just because Kai Cenat has an exclusive deal with Twitch. You can't stream anywhere else. But if you got Kai Cenat to be like, hey, go on Abstract or go to abs.xyz or click this link and watch my stream, right? Ultimately, what's going to transpire is hundreds of thousands of people are going to come in. They're going to make an account, right? That account's very straightforward to make, just like anything you would do in Web 2. They're going to watch his stream. They're going to see these tips fire. He's going to be playing products that are on the thing. People are going to want to follow Kai Cenat and play the same thing he's doing. They just go to the left-hand tab, they click Discovery, and they go play the same thing he's doing. So they now are competing with Kai Cenat. They're now playing with him, right? Kai Cenat is stoked because by the end of his stream, he's got somebody like that would probably leave the stream within an hour with, north of 5 figures in tips. The tip's insane. I mean, there's Peter is averaging a couple $100 in tips, per stream. So I can only imagine what somebody like Kai Cenat would leave with, right? And then he's stoked. He's like, Jesus, man, and all the other features that we're going to do for both users and streamers to make more money are coming. And I think it's going to blow everyone's noggin away, right? So he's, by the time somebody like that size actually gets onto the platform, they're probably going to leave with 10 times more money than they would have on Twitch and Kick, right? Minus they don't have one of those crazy 9-figure deals, which that is the exception, right? But anybody else is going to leave with exponentially more money than Twitch and Kick. They're going to come back. They're going to continuously bring their audience. That's not even including the XP and what that XP will index for. Once they get that, they're even more motivated. And then now they're incentivized to just continuously bolster the network, bring new people in. More people are going to the website. More people are watching their content. They're making content around the apps on the platform. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, right? That is bringing more momentum to apps. App usage is going through the roof. Right? Any of the apps that are deployed that were deployed elsewhere are seeing night and day results in terms of, we're talking 2, 3, 4, 500% growth on their apps prior to deploying on Abstract to what they are today. Right? And then the flywheel kicks in. Granted, you're not speaking, there's elephants in the room. There's things that need to be fixed. There's things that need to be done. But all those things are really simple and straightforward to go. The vision is there, right? Like the opportunity is there. Where it's going is there. Right? All you got to do is, tie up some bells and whistles, put in some killer features, a couple of which are coming soon that no one will expect, right? And then it just changes everything and everything flips on a dime. So, I think that's kind of how we're looking at things. And hopefully that answers your question on how we got here and where we want to go.
Oh man, Luca, I am ready to run through a brick wall for you right now, brother. That was quite the pump up speech, unintended pump up speech, as it were, for the present and the future of Abstract, really. So yeah, thank you for that answer. I've been playing around on Abstract quite a bit the last week and a half, and I want to say I agree wholeheartedly with a lot of what you say there. I do think opening a brand new wallet or even tying it to a pre-existing one, right, in the Abstract global wallet. I think you guys have done a lot of really nice and kind of elegant features there that are important both for the crypto native person like you and me, as well as our grandma Sally that's joined that we want to join Web3, right? You've got like your sessions in place, so you're not signing for every little thing here and there. You have a lot of consumer features like you hinted at. You have streaming. You have the ability to tip with a Pengu token, at least for right now, in those streams. So a lot of really, really great things we've seen literally in the first 10 days of Abstract mainnet. And you yourself are hinting and talking very pointedly about all the great features and great things that are being built out right now to come in the future. So all very, very exciting stuff that I'm excited to get my hands on more of as it grows out. I guess my question there regarding all of that, right? As someone who's been in Web3 for 3-4 years now, we all talk about the white whale that is Web3 adoption, right? Getting everyone in your neighborhood with a Web3 wallet, getting everyone on board. Um, so for people in the audience, and even myself, right? I'm a Pudgy Penguin holder, a Lil Pudgy holder, Pengu token, right? I mean, I've got the whole 9 yards. What exactly, if you can share, totally understand if you can't, is there anything you can share to that, much smaller subsection of people as far as I'm a Pudgy Penguin holder. I obviously just got the Pengu airdrop, so very happy about that. Yeah, I mean, it's literally free money from the sky. Is there anything that Pudgy Penguin holders specifically can or should be expecting on Abstract? And I know, right, they're getting bonus XP every week for their holdings, things like that. But I guess something maybe a little more concrete. Is there anything like that that you can maybe hint at or speak to more broadly? Or is that kind of all under wraps for now?
It's the nucleus. I don't know why anyone tells themselves another story, right? Like, we were
Mhm.
as generous as physically possible, like maybe even to a fault, to our ecosystem, right? Like, it starts and stops with these guys. I don't know why anyone would tell themselves a different story and why that would suddenly change. It was like a really interesting misconception over the last couple of weeks. I think one of which is like, with such a bigger holder base, if I speak to 1,000 people, it's not the same way than when I used to speak to just NFT holders, right? Because so many things get misconstrued. Like, how I communicate to the entire base, like, communication has been one of the great things that has led to our success, right? Over communicating to the best of our ability. It's like one of the things that I'm pondering on, maybe I'll leave the community to help ponder with, is like, how do I talk to all these new people, right? Which you could probably assume there's probably multi-million holder base at this point, 600,000 people on chain, right? You'd probably assume there's 2 to 3x that on sexes, right? There's a whole new cohort that is a part of this ecosystem that, even if you communicate exponentially clear, like super clearly, it still gets lost in translation in some place, some way. So, how I speak to that group is going to be important moving forward. And I'm working on some solutions and happy to get some from the audience and other community members who have a direct line to me or can ping me in the Discord and things like that. Right. Because, somehow, some way, some of the communication over the last couple of weeks, wasn't on par to what we tend to have done. But I do think a vast majority of that, if I look back at some of the positioning and language and some of the posts that we've made, right, comes down to, people, there being such a big holder base that when it goes to one channel and gets spread to a bunch of others, right, it gets lost in translation as more people kind of share the message and share what's transpired or what is transpiring, right? So that's going to be an interesting one. But like, I'm in the business of surprise and delight. No more expectations, but there's obvious expectations that every holder that has been a part of this for some decent amount of time, or knows my character, or knows my thoughts, and knows how I feel about our nucleus and our ecosystem, knows they have nothing to worry about. That if this succeeds, they succeed, right? That's just it. And that was the story with Pudgy Penguins. That will be the story for Abstract. That will be the story for everything that comes out of the Igloo, right? It starts and stops with the Igloo, and the nucleus of the Igloo is the big penguin, right? The little penguin, the rod, that's the nucleus of this, the Pengu. Like, who would I kid myself if I said any other, like, if I told myself any other story, I'd be kidding myself, right? And the second that I lose track of that, is the second that I think this thing is cooked, because that's been the expectation for the last couple of years. And if I flip on that expectation, people are going to get resentful, and it's going to be the beginning of the end, right? Like, as long as I take care of my group, I'm always in the game, right? And my job is to always be in the game, because as long as I'm in the game, I can compete. And if I can compete, I know I'll win, right? It's as simple as that, right? And so, there's obvious things that you can derive from that. We won't talk about that. That's as easy as 1 + 1 = 2. And there's more subtle things that people have yet to see that I think tie everything together in a way that I think people will be excited about. So that's probably the best answer that I'll be able to give you without giving too much away.
Listen, man, and I love that, and I just want to say I completely agree with you. I think regardless of what you've said in the past, today, in the future, I think, a big theme with me personally is actions speak louder than words, right? And I think you said it best. You may have even given, too much to a fault as far as, Pengu token to holders within the ecosystem. And I think that goes a long way in showing how focal and how central the Pudgy NFTs, the Lil Pudgy, the ROGs, right? How central they all are to this ecosystem and to this idea. So, I want you to know, I think you've done a great job with all of it as far as messaging from yourself, from the team, from the Igloo, and like I said, the actions that you have done in rewarding your holders who have held for so long. So I'm not worried one bit. I think, you have nothing but a track record of success to point to in this space since you came in, took over Pudgy's, and truly have made them arguably the biggest NFT brand in the world, right? Um, just short little story here. My girlfriend, we live out in LA, and she works for a major production company. And over Christmas time, her boss, one of the executive vice presidents, came in just to wrap a couple of presents, in a little break between meetings. And my girlfriend noticed that her boss had bought her pair of twin daughters Pudgy Penguin plushies. And so she did a little education right then and there on the spot of, oh, do you know what these are? These are actually NFTs, blah blah blah. So, you know, I think I think everything you've set out to do, you have done a wonderful job of, right? Kind of expanding it to the masses, onboarding normies, whether they know it or not, right? They are buying Web3 products in a very Web2 fashion. So yeah, I just wanted to give that message of keep on keeping on. You've done an excellent job, and I'm personally excited to see where this goes. I mean, we're 10 days into abstract, and it is quite literally just the beginning, man. So to anyone who has doubted you, I send my regards because they're gonna keep fading it, and they're gonna keep losing there on the sidelines. Um,
Amen.
um, so I wanted to, transition just a little bit here and talk about some of the products, right? You guys as a company have built and developed and brought to life so many amazing, real world products as well as, online web3 experiences. It started, like you said, with Walmart bringing your plushies in there. From there, you even spun up, limited edition kind of figures and collectibles. I have the banana suit Pudgy sitting on a shelf in my office right now. So pretty happy I could cop one of those. I believe it was out of 150 or 300. So that's a bright spot in my Web3 cabinet over there. And even recently, we saw, I think last week or the week before, you guys landed a partnership, with Pez, right? One of the most legacy IRL brands of all time, So just wanted to wish you a huge congrats there. Congratulations on securing that. For someone, a 90s kid like myself, grew up with Pez, both popping the candies and collecting some of my favorite superheroes and animated cartoons, right? Who had their own Pez, having some of them still in my closet. Um, I just wanted to ask, has that always been the plan for Pudgy Penguins? Establish major IRL brand partnerships with the likes of Walmart's, with the likes of Pez, or has that been kind of something that's grown and developed as the Pudgy brand has itself, and opening new doors to you and your team? It kind of was it always the plan to go? We're going to get in shelves on Walmart's, then we're going to infiltrate the candy market with Pez, or is it something that's kind of just developed organically as you've led at the helm there at Pudgy
I think
Penguins?
you come to the conclusion that, like, look, the highest upside for the NFTs and for the token is for this to become a cultural phenomenon. The last time we saw a cultural phenomenon was Bored Apes, right? Like, we all know how that went. That was a great story for people who participated and that were a part of that ecosystem. And obviously, when the market crashed, it crashed with it, but at no fault to them, right? Like, there was a lot of things that those guys did really, really well. And so, from our perspective, like that, how do you become a cultural phenomenon? Well, you have to embed yourself in culture, right? Pez is culture, right? When you are the first crypto company to be in the world's biggest retailer, slap dab in a pallet in the middle of the store, that's culture, right? That's relevancy, that's mind share. You can't beat the machine if I continue on this cadence over the course of time, right? We know this already with Pudgy Penguins. These are moments that create demand. They create conviction with the existing holder base. And as you compound it enough times, you succeed, right? And so that's just really our mindset. And you'll see the best. Pez was not even like, and Pez is like fifth on my list in terms of what I think you guys will see here in the next couple like weeks and months. We're gonna show you guys. I mean, when it comes to these categories, we've got the biggest and best collaborations lined up for this. Pez is really like the entry point. I think it's great for collectors. It's super culturally relevant. It's special in a lot of ways. But man, I'm going to up the bar on things like that here shortly in terms of what that looks like. And again, it's an unbeatable recipe. The physical product side is an interesting strategy because it gives you an edge that most people in crypto, if any, have, which is omnipresence when the screen in the phone is off, right? And ultimately, you participating in the ecosystem becomes a game of mind share. You might not buy a Pudgy Penguin or Pengu when your mom or your girlfriend sends you a gift. You might not buy a Pudgy Penguin or Pengu when you hear that, your boss, your girlfriend's boss was wrapping kids, products for the kids, and she found that and there was an interesting aha moment, right? You might not buy it on the next great headline and the next great partnership or the next great moment, right? But over the course of time, if those moments continue to transpire in your life, there's an inflection point that will happen. The inflection point is you'll have a decision that you need to make, which is you collect NFTs, you collect meme tokens, all of these different things, right? One is clearly transcending and permeating in your real life, and the others are not. And so one is a clear decision from a fundamental perspective, and the other is pure speculation. And then you make a choice. Are you a trader and an opportunist, or are you a believer and an investor, right? Believers and investors in our ecosystem have won. They've won big time, right? And they will continue to win, regardless of what the short-term turmoil is in the meantime, right? But that's just been the recipe. I'm not even theorizing it anymore, right? That is the backbone of our success. We did not succeed because we had more money and we were able to brute force exposure like the next person. It's actually the polar opposite. We had the least amount of resources and we were able to brute force our exposure to people, via our talent, via our ability to get deals done, via the ability to identify that you need to take these things and make them cultural phenomenons, and then you work backwards in terms of that end goal, right? Like that's how we got here. And so, from our perspective, like you continue to do that, right? You continue to make yourself omnipresent. You continue to be relevant. You continue to have mind share. You will win, right? Regardless of what happens in the short term. And I know this already. I know this to be, as close to fact as I know my own name, and until I'm proven otherwise, until I go years without seeing success, then this is the roadmap that we're on, right? And I have been down this rodeo many times here before. So we just continue to build. We're going to continue to ship. We're not going to overthink things. We're going to do everything in our ability to make sure that Pudgy Penguins, Pengu becomes a cultural phenomenon. If anything that's crypto native has the chance to do it, it's us, right? Everyone knows that. There's nothing today within the space that from a current transcendent momentum, right? Momentum in the real world and beyond, right? Nothing is coming close to this, right? The views, the impressions, the physical product exposure, we're in a league of our own. So if it's going to happen to anyone, it's going to happen to us. And you just got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep putting your head down. You got to keep the grind going and keep on keeping on. And ultimately, as you stay true to those values and you stay true to that thesis, I know it already. We've gotten here because of that, and we will get to where we need to be because of that as well. So that's all you can do.
Luca, I want to chime in here because I definitely agree with you that you guys are, positioned as the brand to do it. But just tying back to your comment on LLMs and just their resemblance or integration into blockchains, I would say that potentially AI and its resurgence this year, or I guess arrival in crypto, could be the one other thing that could rival the hype, right? Like it's not just one unified brand, but we see AI everywhere. And I wanted to tie that into my thought here. When you're talking about brute forcing and maintaining market attention, with crypto, the market is so dynamic. And what's interesting to me is that you guys have held relevance longer than Bored Apes did, and a lot of that I think is just the fall of NFTs. A lot of like established blue chip projects did not fight hard enough. They did not know how to innovate. They didn't know how to pivot. So in terms of you talking about brute forcing, continuing to stay relevant, continuing to move, how much of that is you forcing the market to come to your vision, right? And saying, this is what we're going to do and you're going to see it, versus you being reactive to the market and identifying, hey, the crypto market's no longer as focused on NFTs. Now it's shitcoins. Now it's AI. Like, how much of your plan is flexible versus it just a full on brute force? They are going to go here because we're putting it out and we're going to make them come to where we're, laying the foundation.
It's the same thing with trading. There's a term in trading, which is the mean to reversion. It all comes back to the VWAP. Pudgy Penguins is the VWAP. It all comes back. And so I can, right? I think, there's been I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse because I haven't seen it. I think you'll see us do a couple things here that I think are relevant to the trend, but bolster the existing ecosystem. So maybe the alpha is like, there's something that we're doing in AI that I think helps us be in the conversation, but doesn't make us an AI company. I think it's just a lever that we can pull that I think makes sense for some of our things within the ecosystem. So that is like an example of, us having, something to do with an AI puts us in an AI conversation, but doesn't make us an AI thing because we're not starting and stopping at AI. I do think it's relevant, and I do think it's a superpower that we're underutilizing, right? So that might be one, but typically up until this point, we haven't done that, right? Could have done ordinals, could have done all these things, right? Could have been an opportunist and put our hat into the ring and made money here, made money there, put something here, put something there. But I'm glad we didn't, right? I genuinely, the thought process of Pengu maybe was a little bit along the lines that, like, I do believe in the meme coin super cycle. I do believe these things are going to work over the course of time. And I think they're only going to get bigger. And I think there's a huge bar to be set there, because I think right now memes are completely underserved in the fact that, there's many mechanisms and many things that memes should be doing, but they're not doing. And this idea that memes should be non-sentient and should do nothing, I think is a complete fallacy and a farce. And anyone that believes that, I think is believing that at the disservice of the industry, right? If you believe that meme coins should be nothing but a picture in a community, and that's all that they should be, it's a massive, massive disservice to where I think crypto can go. Because if a meme coin is nothing but a picture in a community, it leans into the taboo of some of the worst parts of crypto, right? When in reality, like even today, like Pudgy Penguin's Pengu is worth more on paper than 99.999% of IPs. That is not a liability. That's an opportunity. That is not a bug. That's a feature, right? That's what makes crypto so awesome, And people totally take that for granted. They totally underutilize that leverage, right? And it's at the disservice to the industry, because, dude, imagine the top 10 meme teams were all building the way that I'm talking about, pushing for movies and TV and products and doing all of that, leveraging their moat, leveraging their market cap to get deals done, to open doors. Crypto would be 5 steps further. It just would be. You can't argue that. You can't sit there and listen to that and be like, oh no, of course not, right? Doge would be more valuable today if it had somebody like me behind it. Totally. How could you refute that? Because somebody like me, what I would do, what an operator does to assets like this is, when I do Walmart, when I do all the things that you're going to see me do, what are they really? You can mid curve it and you can be like plushies on shelves, right? Or you can right curve it, which is probably the right lens to look at it, which is, right or left curve it, either side of the spectrum. I think you come to the same conclusion, which is like, hey, Walmart on its face is plushies in the store. Cool, right? If you actually unpack the layers to what that action creates, that action does 2 things. Us being in Walmart creates more demand because it's a huge headline that everybody talks about and rallies about, right? It makes people feel good. It makes people look at the space in a positive light, and it separates you from the bunch, which ultimately allows people to participate and come into the ecosystem, right? The other thing that it does is it creates conviction with the existing holder base, right? So supply tightens up. So if you have more demand and supply tightens up, what happens? I'll let you think about what happens. What happens is things go up and to the right, right? And you just got to compound that. You got to compound that over the course of time. And so if Doge had an operator behind me, it'd have a movie, it'd have a TV show, it'd be on every streaming network, it'd be in movie theaters, it had games, it'd have a robust product line that would have taken over the entire world. And all of those things just do 2 things. It creates more demand and more conviction for the existing holder base, right? Which ultimately makes the value of it worth more than whatever it is now, which is nothing, right? Nothing but historical crypto lore, which is not nothing, not shooting that in the foot. Pay homage where homage is due, right? Like, that is awesome and it is amazing, but it is underserved. It is underdeveloped. And at what benefit does something being underserved and underdeveloped help everybody get pushed forward? Right? It doesn't. It doesn't do anything. Right? And that is where the opportunity lies in the parts of the industry that are underserved. Right? Pump fun. Meme coins are underserved. Devs are rugging. Everything has to go through a person. Let's serve them. Right? Memes, this idea that they're so transcendent, they're so easy to attract new people in, right? Like, what? Do you just start and stop at a picture in a community? That's lazy. That's just not right. to me. Like, why would something be worth billions of dollars to go and sit and do nothing? It doesn't make any sense. Right.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of the thought process and how we're looking at this. It's just like, dude, the same. And that's what we did at the NFT side. Right. I think, no, on the token side, it will follow the same path because the principle is the same. Whether the token is non-fungible or fungible, it still comes down to supply and demand.
And dude, I totally agree. And I really want to touch on this a little bit because at parts of you talking about just the crypto space and this project, you seem mad almost. And like I share a lot of the same sentiment where it's just like, how is crypto at its core just falling time and time again for these extraction projects? And it is lazy. You see so many memes that just come out and it's like, holy shit, we're going to just pump everything under the sun here to 100 million market cap, have that lead the ecosystem, and then come back. So I really do appreciate what you're doing and trying to build memes further than they've ever gone before. I want to ask you, though, like, as someone who's been a participant in crypto for years now, do you think that that's just like who we have in the space, or do you think that it could fundamentally change? What could that fundamental change look like? Obviously building pudgies is going to help a lot, but like, is crypto the land of degens and we can never get away from our ways of just chasing the shiny thing for a quick buck?
Nope. Crypto is a game of follow the leader. And as you set the tone, everyone follows. It's like NFTs. Who was doing physical products before Pudgy Penguins? And even when we were doing physical products, it didn't matter to people until we started breaking new highs, 10 ETH, 20 ETH. All of a sudden, everyone wants to do physical products. Got to follow the leader. They did it. They succeeded, right? I want to see the same success. I know what that success yields, right? That's how I follow it. Ethereum, general purpose blockchain. Everyone and their mom makes a general purpose blockchain. Everyone wants to be indexed like Ethereum. It's a game of follow the leader, right? So for this playbook to be set, right? The NFT playbook is set. People know based on our success over the last couple of years, and most people are now building in that light. They value that type of stuff. They value content. They value products. They didn't value that before, right? And so, for the meme coin space to be reinvented, Pengu has to lead. But over the course of time, as we continue to do what we're doing, it will lead. And people will follow.
So I'm definitely curious in that aspect, right? And like I know you've talked about VWAP and just kind of curious with your expectation here, because once you launch a token, so much of it is like dictated by price, at least in terms of like the view of the market. So I've seen with Pudgies that you guys are, getting a lot of pots brewing over here on the burners, right? You got like a trading card game, you have an app coming out, you have Igloo. There's a lot of different things you're innovating on. Would you say that like price is the most important indicator of maintaining that lead and where you innovate to? Like if you made an announcement that pumped the Pengu price, would that just capture all of your attention and say, all right, this is it. We figured out what the market wants. Like, let's just push that as far as it can go.
Yeah, I think there's something there. I mean, like the one thing that I haven't done is I haven't pretended that price doesn't exist. I think that's the worst thing that you can do. Like elephant in the room is like, dude, I'm down 70%. Not going to pretend that I'm not, right? Like, you gotta do it, but then you also gotta understand like part of the game. Like I could tell you I'm down 70% because every meme's down north of 50%, and I could tell you that I put more supply and more free money in people's hands, and so I got a little bit of a worse beating than the next person, aligned with a couple of miscommunication woes, and here I am today, right? But like, price is the best marketing. The engagement when price is up, the proliferation when price is up, is exponentially more significant than when price is down. I've looked at this for years now with the NFTs, right? And so that remains true. Now, to some degree, you can't control price. All you can do is control how much you ship, how much conviction you create, and how much demand you create, right? The higher the price, the more demand that's created because more people are retweeting, more people are in the money, more people are willing to champion. So price does matter. Do you do something do you lean into things if price is affected positively? Yeah, of course, because ultimately, like your success is predicated ultimately at the price. It's like you'd be negligent and a fool to pretend otherwise. I don't sit here and I'm like, oh yeah, right. I don't. Oh, I'm so happy. Of course not. I'm not sitting there and curling up into a ball with crippling anxiety and be like, oh my god. All you can do is ship and deliver. And eventually enough people gravitate and you win. And so I look at success. You have to look at success with these liquid assets, whether it's NFTs or liquid tokens. You have to look at them at a larger time horizon than days, weeks. At a minimum, you're either looking at it at quarter over quarter growth or year over year growth, right? Year over year, Pudgy growth, Pudgy NFT growth, phenomenal. Beats everything and everyone by a Texas mile. Year over year. Just look at the chart. Right. And so like I can't control Trump and Melania. I can't control FOMC. You're going to kill yourself. I killed myself thinking about things I can't control. All I can do is create a degree of separation between us and everyone else so that when you make a buying decision, right, you tally up, you're making two buying decisions. You're either FOMOing in, you're trading, or you're investing and believing, right? Those are the three buying decisions that people make, how they make them. And so, when somebody, it's my job to make it so that when somebody is looking at memes or NFTs and they're tallying up the wins and they're tallying up the potential, that if you make an educated and smart decision, you come to the igloo, you come to the huddle. That's what I can control, right? I can just keep compounding wins and make it glaringly obvious. When we went from 4 ETH to 23 ETH off of the backs of Walmart, 6 weeks after Walmart launch, or 8 weeks after Walmart launch, we were down 5% on the day. I remember that. A friend of mine actually sold 20 NFTs that day. It's pretty upset. But what happened once we went to what happened when we went to 10 ETH? The story that everyone told themselves was, it's so obvious. Of course they're going to run. That's the story. I talked to enough people. 99% of people who bought Pudgy Penguins north of 10 ETH starting on that Walmart run, right, 8 weeks later, the reason why they bought it was because the story they told themselves when FOMO was kicking in that, oh yeah, this was obvious, right? Same thing will happen with the token. All you need to do is keep shipping, keep delivering. When the first green candle comes, and it's a big one, oh, it was obvious, of course, right? And then there's more green candles, and then more people are happy, and then more people are stoked, right? And then the story they tell themselves is obvious. The part that doesn't work is when the green candle comes, and it's like, oh, why? Right? That's not right. This is my time to leave. Get out now, run before it's too late, But if it's obvious, it compounds, right? And that's where the fundamentals matter, right? The fundamentals of Pengu is simple. What is it? The 10th biggest meme coin today? That's insane. It gets more impressions. It's in more homes. It has more mind share. It has more love and affinity. It's the best community in crypto, right? And you're saying there's 10 things more relevant, more popular, more omnipresent than this. But I know the fundamentals don't necessarily indicate immediateness, right? And there's some macro things that transpire, things that you can't control, right? But you think over the course of time that Pengu is going to be the 20th big, you think that the playbook is going to make it, it's going to stop working, right? Like the line of thought here is not only just proven, it's just logical, right? Like it's just simple reasoning, right? Like what's worth more than Pengu right now? Floki? Oh, you're kidding, right? No, seriously, think about it. I want to be told I'm crazy. Tell me I'm crazy and tell me why. Right? But like, dude, what can you do? You can just keep shipping, keep grinding, keep showing why you're the best. And then they come in. Whether that's now, whether that's later, whether that's 6 months from now, everyone eventually comes in. I've seen this story already with the NFTs. And they just got to keep grinding.
I was going to say, Luca, I will for sure tell you you're crazy, but I will never tell you you're wrong, dude.
Appreciate that. But if you feel like I'm wrong, I'm also not a madman. If somebody came up here and told me a compelling argument to the contrary, I would listen to it. I would accept it. I would tell you live in real time that I think you're right. If I think the argument's compelling enough, I'm not living in a daze, right? I'm not living on a cloud where I'm not listening to anyone, right? Oh, but like the thought process is proven. We proved it over the last 2.5, 3 years, really 3 years now. I'm gonna start saying 3 years, not 2.5. 3 years on April 4th, right? The thought process is proven and it just logically makes sense. Right. So just use the reason and run the rationale. If you run the rationale, you come to the same conclusion that I do.
Dude, for sure. And I appreciate you're not, hiding from any feedback because we do love to ask audience to come up at some point. We're not going to just let like people who are just going to spew negativity or whatever just
Let
come
them.
up here. And I
They
mean, for
can.
sure. All right, dude,
I
we'll
want them
definitely get
to.
them up. But I know Silva's got some good questions beforehand. I'm going to run and grab some water real quick. But yeah, dude, I appreciate it. And we'll definitely make sure we get all voices up here. So if you guys want to
I don't
post,
have
stick
that
around.
long. Just letting you guys know. I had from 5 to 6. I was 5 minutes late. I do have a 6, so I could probably stay 10 minutes after latest. I can shoot a message, but I definitely I definitely got to hop within 10 minutes.
Of course, man. Totally. Yeah. I want to respect your time and above all, thank you. Thank you so much for, making the time to come on and chat with us today. You know, like I said, I am an ecosystem holder at every level, and even I have been illuminated, to a lot of things I wasn't really aware of, or more hearing how you think about it and how you approach these things. So I appreciate you taking that time, and want to try and get maybe one or two listeners up here if they have questions. But my last question, and really touching on a lot of what you just spoke about, it all seems so easy in hindsight, like you said, right? Like you see that first green candle, and then there's another, and then there's another. And it was all right there in front of me, right? I should have seen this coming. I should have been expecting this based on the deliverables they had in store, the things they've been teasing. And, you've talked a lot today about, you came off the rip. You were so excited about a brand new idea that you're scoping out and working on from today. But I think you guys, whether you personally or like the Pudgy Penguin team as a whole, you have dropped some hints and teasers recently on the timeline of some huge things really kind of in the works, from what looks to be an iOS game, right? We've seen some teasers and some art kind of direction there recently. And one, I think it was from last week, might have been the week before though. It was an announcement about new inflows coming to Pengu and Pudgy Penguins, kind of giving institutions the access to some of these assets, right? And that there's a lot that could mean. That could be pretty far ranging and pretty impactful. What I mean, it could end up being some of the most impactful news we've ever seen in this space for NFTs and digital collectibles. Is there anything you can touch on there? I totally understand if you can't for any reason at all, but it seems really in lockstep with what you're talking about. How it all seems so easy, and like we all should have seen it coming. And that was one of the biggest things that tipped me off of, if they are able to get institutional support into, whatever that might look like, right? Institutional buys of Pengu token, fractionalized shares of Pudgy Penguin NFTs that they can buy in mass. There's a lot of ways it could look, but is there anything you can speak to there, or it's all got to be pretty hush hush now while things are getting signed and deals are getting
Yeah, I
made?
think from our perspective, I think we're the easiest thing for traditional finance to understand because it is
Hmm.
coherent and it is relevant to their everyday lives, right? Their friends, their family members. This is a brand that transcends, you know, the space, but I think also transcends, what people have seen before. And it's very familiar. It's very understandable. It is super digestible. And so it's my job that if I think that that is the case, that we speak to those people and those people have an opportunity to participate. I think you'll see what all of this what all of that was alluding to for sure before the month ends. And I think you'll see two versions. I think you'll see one version that's obvious and everyone will understand it. And I think you'll see another version that's never been done before. Right. And you just got to wait and see. And that's about as best and the most context that I can give.
Oh man, that has me just foaming at the mouth, man. That's a better answer than I expected. I assume there were some NDAs and you had to be completely hush hush, but thank you for that little bit of teaser there. That is, I mean, there's no other way to cut it, right? Like that is some of the most exciting kind of innovations and advancements that we could have ever hoped to see, in our world of silly JPEGs. So I I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for whenever that official announcement comes out, and that's pretty huge stuff, man.
Appreciate it.
Oh yeah. All right, Luca. I do want to be mindful of your time, so I got two members of the audience up here. I have no idea who they are, except they are rocking some pudgy PFPs. Guys, if you could just keep your questions short for Luca, so we can get him in and get him out. But go ahead, Husker. You're up here first. What you got?
Hey, sorry, I came up halfway through that question, so I'm not sure if this was the same one. But Luke, I was listening to the Bankless podcast, and you alluded to that there was an acquisition coming up. I was wondering if there's anything more that you can give us, just because I'm always screaming for some alpha. I'm in a group with a bunch of penguin whales and stuff like that, and at least could we say, like, is it on the abstract side, is it on the igloo side, or am I just completely off with it?
The deal is closed, so it's finally done. And it is relevant to the entire igloo. It's relevant to abstract. It's relevant to pudgy. It's relevant to everything.
Thanks, Luca.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, Husker. Luke, Lil Pudgy, what up, bro?
Yo, okay, to keep it quick, Luca, I could glaze you all day. I'm so stoked on everything you said. I don't know if every time you speak it's this bullish, but like mad conviction and everything. And then one question, or not really a question, but I hope you got to admit you're bearish with Pingu earlier. And then a real question would be, if you were looking to add liquidity or allocate your liquidity, and you don't have all the liquidity in the world into something in the ecosystem, and someone, it's like, they could get a mix. They could get little pudgies and rogs and a bag of Pingu, or just all in on a fat bag of Pingu, or grab a big. What would you suggest to someone?
I can't say that. It's your prerogative, because I think they all mean similar things, but they're all a little different in what they mean, if that makes sense. It's a little convoluted, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't give you financial advice. I could tell you that I think the entire ecosystem is a place that you want to be. And I think it's up to you. It's up to what you want to stomach and what you want to participate in. Right? I think on one side you have Pengu, exponentially more volatile than the NFTs, exponentially probably more upside and downside. So you play that game accordingly. The NFTs are identities, right? They are naturally, it depends what properties mean more to you, right? One is a more interesting trade. The other is a more interesting opportunity to develop your personal brand and to make a trade. It really comes down to your own assessment and how you deduce what you think is valuable to you, right? Like if I'm a builder and I'm, and I want access, a big pudgy is probably going to serve me the best. If I want liquidity and I believe in the trade, and depending on my time horizon, Pengu might be better for you. It's ultimately your prerogative, and unfortunately I can't give you much more clarity than that.
Appreciate it. Keep fucking mopping, G. You're the boss.
I appreciate it.
And thanks to Metaverse HQ and the homies hosting. You guys are G's too. Great space.
Hey, thanks, Luke.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, Luke, I know we got to wrap it up here. I just want to give you one more opportunity, because you've just been fired up this episode. Give us a piece of FUD you want to respond to. I know you said there's some things you saw that you disagree with. Some things are fair. Just give us an example of something you're seeing. Why are they wrong? And then shut it down. Go off on that high horse, and then we'll catch you some other time.
I think probably the FUD is people thinking that this is the end of the road somehow, some way. I feel like I've seen some of that messaging. Oh, they're so smart. They were supposed to be the best. Supposed to be the best. What? Couple bad weeks in crypto, and now we're no longer the best? Insanity. Truly. I think it's probably the best way. I could go more granular and point out certain things, how could you think that we were the consumer chain and that we would optimize for whales above all else, and that would be an ultimate priority? There's little things like that, but I think it all comes down to common denominator over the last week has been oh, look, that's done. It's over. They were, not they are. I'm huh? You're nuts. Right? What? Pengu being down ultimately means what? We're not the best? That's insane. Every meme is down 50+%. We were we 8 million eligible wallets. So many people have this token. What? You think that's the end of it? You think this is done? We're just packing up shop and we're wrapping it up? Because you must have not been here. You must be a tourist. You must be new to this. We've been down 70% many times. What? Were we dead then? What happened after that? I think that's really what I got to say. And I'm bookmarking this time. I'm bookmarking. I won't forget. I won't forget this one, because this one's a little annoying because of how generous we were, how much we were really trying to uplift everyone. Everyone got a piece of this. You want to try to kick me when I'm down after I took care of you when I didn't need to? Whew. You got another thing coming, brother. It's going to be a rude awakening for those people, but it's okay. That's the difference. That's the difference between winners and losers. So just show them. Show them why we're even here in the first place. But I'm bookmarking. That's how I'll leave it off. Have a good day, boys.
Luca, thank you so much, man. That is a perfect place to end it. You have done an incredible job since day one of taking over Pudgy Penguins to day right now, right? You've led them, and you've shown the way for so many NFT projects. Thank you so much for coming on, joining us for this time. It's been really, really illuminating stuff. So thank you for your time, Ross.